You have heard the stories. You have seen the glossy Instagram reels and articles praising the Carolinas as the last safe corner of the American dream. Affordable homes, mild weather, fresh jobs, cute downtowns. On the surface, it looks perfect, but for thousands of recent buyers, that picture is cracking. For many families, this is not a gentle cool-down. It is a slow-motion trap. Payments that once felt doable now squeeze every paycheck. Sellers who thought they could list on Friday and be under contract by Monday are watching their homes sit, cut, and sit again. Behind the marketing slogans, there are neighborhoods in North Carolina and South Carolina where the housing market is quietly flashing red. Before you pack the car and head south, you need to see what it actually looks like on the ground. Today on Discover the Nation, we are taking a full road trip through the Carolinas and stopping in 10 cities where the data and the street-level reality are telling the same story. Inventory is piling up, affordability is breaking, insurance and taxes are eating into budgets. In some places, the problem is overbuilding. In others, it is one industry carrying almost the entire local economy. Stay with us all the way to the end, because our final stop is a tourist hotspot where locals are already whispering that entire condo towers feel one step from ghost town. If you care about your financial future, hit like now so this video reaches more people before they sign the wrong contract. Make sure you subscribe to Discover the Nation so you catch the warning signs before the sales pitch. And tell us in the comments if you were seeing price cuts or long-sitting listings in your own city. Buckle up and keep your eyes on the road. We are driving straight into the storm. Number 10. Gastonia, North Carolina. We start just west of Charlotte, rolling into Gastonia. At first glance, it feels like a classic Carolina mill town trying on a new identity. Old brick factories turned into lofts, craft coffee shops on corners that used to host hardware stores, and new subdivisions spilling out along the bypass. On a quick drive-through, it looks like momentum. Scroll the listings and the picture shifts. Price reduced shows up again and again. Sellers offering closing cost help, appliance packages, and rate buy-downs just to keep buyers from walking away. Homes that would have sparked multiple offers during the frenzy now sit and quietly collect days on market. The mood has gone from hurry up and bid to wait and see. Gastonia's problem is that it tried to be both a bargain suburb of Charlotte and its own comeback story at the same time. Prices rose fast on the promise of endless commuters and remote workers willing to drive a little farther for a cheaper mortgage. But the paychecks here do not look like uptown banking salaries, and when interest rates jumped, the gap between local incomes and recent sale prices became impossible to ignore. In older neighborhoods, longtime residents stare at tax bills that climbed on the back of peak valuations, even as new listings on their street are quietly cut to move. In the newer tracts, investors who bought starter homes as rental plays are discovering that tenants have options and are pushing harder on rent and move-in concessions. Vacancy that used to be measured in days is now measured in weeks. The city has real strengths. It has history, it has a rail and highway network, and it has people trying to rebuild the downtown core. But none of that changes the basic math of a market that got ahead of itself on the promise of perpetual Charlotte spillover. If you buy in Gastonia today, you're not just betting on a charming house at a lower sticker price, you're betting that the next few years of wages, taxes, and demand will catch up to numbers that already feel too rich for many of the people who live and work here. Number 9. Spartanburg, South Carolina. From Greenville, we cross the state line and roll into Spartanburg, the historic hub city. On the drive in, it actually looks like a success story. New subdivisions, fresh concrete, development signs on the edge of old farmland. At first glance, it feels like growth. Look closer, and you see a different pattern. Builders did not just build, they flooded the zone. Active listings have climbed sharply in Spartanburg. In tract after tract, you see spec homes, model homes, and nearly finished houses all looking for a buyer at the same time. Sales offices are advertising rate buy-downs, appliance packages, closing cost credits, anything to keep contracts from falling apart. That is not confidence, that is stress. Resale homes are feeling the pressure as well. Days on market have climbed compared to a year ago. That 2-week window that used to be normal has stretched into a month or more for a growing share of properties. When buyers realize they no longer have to offer on the first house they see, they slow down, negotiate harder, or simply sit on the sidelines. Add in another uncomfortable trend. Foreclosure activity in the surrounding county is ticking up. That suggests that at least some households who bought at the top, with thin savings and tight budgets, are now struggling to service their loans as inflation and higher rates bite into everything else they pay for. Spartanburg was sold as the affordable alternative to its flashier neighbors. Now that label is hiding a simple truth. There are more homes than there are qualified buyers at current prices. If you buy here, you need to ask yourself if you are getting a deal or just volunteering to help clean up after someone else's building spree. Number 8. Rock Hill, South Carolina. Head just south of Charlotte and you land in Rock Hill, the place that was marketed as the smarter move. Same metro orbit, shorter commute, more house for the money, quieter streets. For a while, it felt like a cheat code. Work in Charlotte, sleep in Rock Hill, watch your value climb with every new arrival crossing the line. In 2025, that climb is not guaranteed. Drive the newer subdivisions and the warning is right on the lawns. Price cut, closing cost help, builder incentives. Homes are sitting longer than last year, and more listings need 2 reductions before a buyer commits. Back on market is showing up more often, and open houses feel quieter. The easy demand that once snapped up anything with a garage has slowed. Rock Hill moves with Charlotte's job cycle. When the Queen City cools, banking and tech hiring softens, relocation packages thin out, and remote buyers stop stretching. Add higher mortgage rates, and plenty of families cannot qualify for the numbers sellers still expect. Low appraisals wobble deals, and sellers either cut or watch contracts die. Investors are adding weight too. During the boom, out-of-town buyers scooped up starter homes to rent to commuters. Now rents are softer, vacancy is up, and insurance and tax bills keep climbing. When a few investors exit at the same time, they flood the market and drag comps down street by street. Rock Hill is not collapsing, but the days of assuming you can sell fast for more are gone for now. If you buy here today, you are betting Charlotte rebounds and inventory does not pile up. How confident are you when the for sale signs are stacking up again?
Number 7. Winston-Salem, North Carolina. Heading west into the Piedmont, we arrive in Winston-Salem, a city that has tried to reinvent itself from tobacco and textiles into research and medicine. The skyline has charm. Historic neighborhoods have beautiful brick homes and mature trees. It looks like the kind of place that should be stable, and that is exactly why the shift feels so sneaky. A market like this does not crash with fireworks. It cools quietly, one stalled listing at a time. Right now, the signals say otherwise. A sharp drop in mortgage applications in the metro area has become one of the most important leading indicators here. Fewer people are even starting the process. That shows up a few months later as weaker sales, more inventory, and more price cuts. You can feel it in how sellers talk now. Less confidence, more urgency, more words like open to offers and bring all buyers. Flipped homes are feeling it first. During the boom, investors scooped up older properties, renovated them with trendy finishes, and expected quick profits. Today, many of those flips are sitting. Search the listings and you will see a big share of homes that have been on the market over a month, sometimes much longer, which was unheard of in the frenzy. Fresh paint and quartz counters do not matter if the monthly payment scares people away. Affordability has eroded quickly. Prices sprinted ahead of local incomes, and now you have a middle tier of homes that used to be the easiest to sell, stuck in limbo. Buyers do not want to pay older peak prices with current rates, and sellers are struggling to accept that reality. And when the middle tier freezes, everything else backs up behind it, because move-up buyers cannot move up if they cannot sell. There is still plenty to like about Winston-Salem as a city, but the housing market has clearly shifted from sprint to slog.
If you are thinking about buying here, understand that you are not walking into the tail end of a boom. You are stepping into a market that is still figuring out how far down it needs to come to meet local paychecks again, and how long buyers are willing to wait before they even make an offer. Number 6. Columbia, South Carolina. We head south again down the interstate to Columbia, the state capital and home to the University of South Carolina. Government jobs, education, and a big regional medical presence should add up to stability. That is the theory. It looks solid on paper, and it sounds safe in a realtor pitch. But stability does not protect you from oversupply, and Columbia is learning that the hard way. In reality, Columbia is wrestling with investor fatigue and rental saturation. Drive neighborhood after neighborhood near the core, and you will notice it. 4 rent signs on nearly every block. Large investor-backed property companies own big clusters of homes. They bought aggressively over the past few years, counting on endless rent growth and constant appreciation. They treated whole streets like inventory. The problem is that renters have a budget, and that budget is not rising fast enough to keep the plan alive. Now, rents in some zip codes have stopped rising and even started to slip. When the rental income stalls, the entire investor model strains. Some owners have responded by dumping properties back onto the market, adding an extra wave of inventory on top of traditional resales in new construction. And when investors list, they do it in batches, which can change the feel of a neighborhood overnight. The number of homes for sale has climbed, while the number of buyers who can afford today's rates has fallen. Average days on market have increased. Deals now require seller-paid closing costs, rate buydowns, and repair credits that would have been laughable only a short time ago. Even then, buyers shop harder, ask for more, and walk away faster when inspections reveal expensive surprises. Pending sales have drifted lower as well, which means future transaction volume is already baked in at weaker levels. For local residents, that translates to one simple message. You may start seeing more signs on your street and more mailers in your box, all chasing a smaller pool of qualified buyers. Columbia is slowly shifting from a frenzy to a grind, and that is never a comfortable moment for anyone who bought late and expected the market to do the heavy lifting for them.
Number 5. Greensboro, North Carolina. Back in North Carolina, we stop in Greensboro, a logistics and manufacturing center that once benefited from its central location and relatively modest prices. Warehouses, highways, and big-box distribution centers give the impression of constant motion. Trucks move, goods move, everything looks busy. But housing is not driven by traffic, it is driven by confidence, and confidence is what is missing right now. Underneath, the housing market is stuck. Many owners who locked in very low mortgage rates have simply decided not to sell. They do not want to trade a 3% payment for a 7% one. That creates a strange situation. New listings are limited, but the ones that do come to market are not flying off the shelf. Buyers move slower, compare more options, and treat every listing like it should come with a discount just for existing. Months of supply, which tells you how long it would take to sell everything available at the current pace, has doubled compared to the tightest days of the boom. Price growth has flattened out. Once you factor in inflation, values in real terms are already slipping. That is the part many homeowners miss. Flat is not neutral when your costs keep rising. Another red flag is the rise in canceled or expired listings. A noticeable share of sellers test the waters, fail to get their dream price, and then quietly pull back. Those ghosts do not show up in simple price graphs, but they change the mood on the ground. Buyers notice when the same house disappears and reappears with a new set of photos and a slightly lower number. Higher-priced homes are especially vulnerable. Properties over a certain threshold sit for long stretches with only sporadic showings. The buyer pool for that tier has shrunk as borrowing costs climbed and stock market wealth became more volatile. And when higher-tier homes stall, sellers start chasing the market down with reductions, which resets expectations for everything nearby. Greensboro still works as a place to live and work, but you should not assume the housing market will carry you upward just because it did for your neighbor 3 years ago.
In this phase, the risk is paying yesterday's price for a house that may be worth less in real terms next year, while you are still paying today's taxes, insurance, and interest rate. Number 4. Raleigh, North Carolina. Now we head into one of the most hyped markets in the country, Raleigh and the surrounding triangle. Tech campuses, research parks, new mixed-use neighborhoods, and a skyline filled with cranes created a narrative that this place could only go up. Reality has caught up. During the boom, prices surged faster than local incomes. Even tech incomes could reasonably support. Builders rushed in, investors grabbed second and third homes, and out-of-state buyers bid over asking just to get a foothold. The feeling was simple. If you wait, you lose. That kind of fear is powerful, but it also creates a market that is fragile the moment demand cools. Today, inventory is up, incentives are everywhere, and the first meaningful year-over-year price declines are showing up in certain neighborhoods. For the first time in a long time, buyers are slowing down, comparing options, and asking what they actually get for nearly $500,000. Many are deciding the answer is not enough, especially when the monthly payment is inflated by today's rates. Standing inventory of new construction has climbed to levels that make builders nervous. Walk into a sales office and you will hear about closing cost help, rate buydowns, and free upgrades before you even sit down. That is not how a truly tight market behaves. When sellers start paying buyers to show up, it is a signal the balance of power is shifting. Net migration has also slowed from a torrent to a stream. People are still moving to Raleigh, but not at the pace that can absorb everything that was built for them at peak pricing. Raleigh remains a strong job market with real long-term appeal, but the housing side ran ahead of the fundamentals. If you buy here now, treat it like any other expensive cyclical market. The name recognition does not guarantee the peak price you see on old charts comes back quickly, and in the meantime, you are the one paying the carrying costs. Number 3. Charlotte, North Carolina. Heading south, we arrive in Charlotte, the banking capital of the region, in one of the fastest-growing metros of the last decade. Uptown gleams, cranes dot the skyline. At first glance, the city still looks like pure momentum. The housing market tells a more complicated story. On the rental side, Charlotte has delivered a huge wave of new apartments. Thousands of units have come online or will soon. That extra supply puts pressure on rents, especially for luxury buildings that all compete for the same tenants. When rents soften, the argument for buying at elevated prices weakens. If a renter can negotiate a free month, waived fees, or a cheaper renewal, the urgency to become a homeowner fades fast, and demand shifts from ownership back to renting. On the ownership side, inventory of homes for sale has increased for months in a row. Closed sales have dropped compared to last year. A growing share of listings sits for 90 days or more. In some suburbs, it feels like entire streets have a for sale sign at the same time. That changes buyer psychology. People stop asking how quickly they need to act and start asking what is wrong with the house, the neighborhood, or the price. Institutional owners, including large corporations that bought single-family homes in bulk, have pulled back from new purchases and in some cases started to trim their holdings. When they leave the field, they take away a key source of demand that once quietly supported prices. And when they list multiple homes in the same zip code, they can reset comps downward in a way individual sellers cannot fight. None of this means Charlotte will tumble overnight. It does mean the easy phase is over. Buying here now means paying close attention to which neighborhoods are overexposed to corporate landlords, where new supply is heavy, and how reliant your chosen area is on a single corporate employer or industry. Number 2. Charleston, South Carolina. We head to the coast and roll into Charleston. Cobblestone streets, historic homes, oak trees dripping with Spanish moss, and postcard views in every direction. It feels like a place where prices should always be high and always rising. The reality is that Charleston has an affordability and insurance problem that is hard to ignore. The cost of insuring a home in and around Charleston has exploded. In many coastal and flood-prone areas, owners now juggle regular homeowners policies, separate wind coverage, and flood insurance. In some cases, those combined annual premiums have doubled or tripled in just a few years, and it is not just the price, it is the unpredictability. People are getting renewal notices that change the whole monthly payment in one envelope. Buyers may be able to handle the base mortgage payment, but once the final insurance quote lands on the lender's desk, the debt-to-income math falls apart. Deals that looked solid on paper simply do not close. Pending sales have dropped, transaction volume has fallen, even while headline prices remain high. That kind of mismatch often shows up right before sellers start accepting lower offers, because the market is not truly healthy if fewer deals can actually clear. At the same time, more owners in vulnerable areas are trying to get out ahead of the next hurricane season or the next round of premium hikes. Inventory in certain coastal zip codes is building. Second home buyers have stepped back, squeezed by higher rates, tighter budgets, and a more cautious outlook. And the people who keep Charleston running, especially service and tourism workers, are increasingly unable to live anywhere near the core, which strains staffing, commutes, and the long-term balance of the local economy. Charleston is still gorgeous, but beauty does not pay premiums. Before you fall for the charm, price out every layer of insurance and ask yourself whether you really want your largest investment sitting on the front lines of both climate and cost.
Number 1. Myrtle Beach, South Carolina. Our last stop is Myrtle Beach, the Grand Strand. Neon signs, beach stores, mini golf, oceanfront towers, and endless rows of condos that promise a slice of vacation life. For many investors, this looked like an easy cash flow play. Rent it when you aren't there, let the tourists pay the mortgage. Now it is one of the most fragile housing markets on the coast. The first red flag is inventory. In some buildings, there are dozens of nearly identical units for sale at the same time. Same floor plans, same square footage, nearly the same view. When the only way to stand out is to cut your price, everybody loses. Every reduction becomes the new comp, and the entire building gets dragged down with it, even owners who never planned to sell. Aggressive price reductions are everywhere. Units that sold for one amount just a year or two ago are now listed tens of thousands lower, and in some cases still sitting. Owners who bought late in the boom are discovering that their equity never really existed outside of a hot market spreadsheet. In condos, add an extra problem. You are not competing with one seller, you're competing with a stack of neighbors selling the same product. Short-term rental income has disappointed as well. Oversaturation and shifting travel patterns mean more vacant nights and lower nightly rates. When you combine that with association fees that have climbed to cover shared insurance, repairs, and special assessments, the cash flow story falls apart. Insurance demands along this stretch of coast are intense. Wind, flood, and property coverage are all moving targets, and many association boards have had no choice but to pass those costs directly to owners through higher monthly dues and special charges. Foreclosure activity is creeping higher. Days on market are longer than the national average. You can still be lured in by the idea of a cheap beach condo, but the carrying costs and the risk of further price erosion are real. Myrtle Beach today is less of a vacation investment and more of a case study in what happens when everyone tries to profit from the same stretch of sand at the same time. 10 cities, 10 warning labels. From inland college towns to coastal resorts, from tech hopefuls to retirement favorites, the story across the Carolinas in 2025 is remarkably consistent. Prices ran ahead of incomes. Inventory in key segments swelled, insurance, taxes, and everyday costs increased. Now the market is trying to rebalance, and that process is never painless for the people who bought last. This does not mean you should never move to North Carolina or South Carolina. It means you should not move blindly. If a listing looks like a bargain, ask why. If everyone says a neighborhood is bulletproof, look at the numbers yourself. Check how long homes are really sitting, how big the price cuts have been, and what your true monthly payment will be once insurance, taxes, and association fees are included. Would you live in any of these cities for the right price, or does that price still feel too expensive once you factor in the risk?
Tell us in the comments what you were seeing in your own market. Are signs sitting longer, or are bidding wars still happening on your block? Hit like if you are tired of sales pitches pretending downturns do not exist. Subscribe to Discover the Nation so your next move is guided by data and reality, not just glossy brochures and social media hype. Be cautious, be informed, and before you chase a dream in any market, make sure the ground under it is not already shifting.